I thought the weird smell in our bathroom was just bad plumbing. Then I found the notebooks, pages and pages about me, my schedule, my apartment, places I went after work. He'd been watching everything, so this happened to me about 8 months ago, and I still check my rearview mirror constantly. I'm talking like every few seconds. My friends think I'm paranoid now, but they weren't there. They didn't see what I saw. I was working at this truck stop off Route 40 outside Greenville, Illinois. Not a fancy place or anything, just one of those spots where truckers stop for coffee and bathrooms on their way through. The building was old, probably built in the 70s or something. The pay was decent though, and I needed money for community college, so I took the night shifts. Usually worked Tuesday through Saturday, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The job was boring most of the time. I'd restock shelves, clean stuff, help the occasional customer. My manager's name was Patty, and she only came by twice a week to drop off supplies and check inventory. Otherwise, I was alone, which I actually liked back then. I could listen to podcasts and nobody bothered me. This whole thing started in late September. I remember because my sister's birthday was coming up and I kept forgetting to order her gift online. I noticed the men's bathroom was going through toilet paper really fast. Like, I'd restock it on Tuesday night, and by Wednesday morning, 2 whole rolls would be gone. At first I figured maybe we just had a lot of customers with stomach problems or whatever. Truck stop food, you know? But it kept happening. Every single night, those rolls would be almost empty by morning. Then there was the smell, not like normal bathroom smell. This was different, kind of musty, like old laundry that sat in the washer too long, mixed with something else I couldn't really place. It wasn't constant either. Some nights I'd walk in there and it would hit me hard, other nights nothing. I mentioned it to Patty when she stopped by. She just shrugged and said, maybe the septic system needed work. She told me to spray more air freshener, real helpful. Around the second week of October, I started feeling weird during my shifts. You know that feeling when you think someone's watching you? I'd be stocking the cooler or whatever, and I'd get this creepy sensation. I'd turn around and nobody would be there. The parking lot would be empty except for maybe 1 or 2 trucks way out by the diesel pumps. One night, I swear I heard something above me, like footsteps, but softer. The building had a crawl space above the ceiling tiles. I knew that much. Patty told me when I started that sometimes raccoons got up there, so I figured that's what it was. I even texted my roommate about it, made a joke about working in a haunted truck stop, but the toilet paper thing kept bugging me. I started actually counting the rolls. I'd write down how many I put in there at the start of my shift. By the end, at least 1.5 rolls would be gone, sometimes 2. But here's the thing that made it weird. I barely had any customers using that bathroom, maybe 3 or 4 guys per night max. The math didn't add up. I also noticed the door to the men's room would sometimes be closed when I knew I'd left it propped open. Small stuff like that. Things that made me pause but not enough to really freak out about. The 3rd week of October, Patty told me we were doing a deep clean on Saturday night. She wanted me to scrub everything down, clean behind the toilets, wipe down the ceiling tiles, the whole deal. I wasn't thrilled about it, but she was paying me extra, so whatever. Saturday came around. It was pretty slow that night. I remember this one trucker came in around 1 a.m. and bought like 6 energy drinks and beef jerky. He was the last customer I had for hours. Around 4 in the morning, I started the deep clean. I saved the bathrooms for last because I hate cleaning bathrooms. I did the women's room first, which was fine. Nothing weird. Then I went into the men's room with my supplies. The smell hit me immediately, stronger than usual. That musty laundry smell, but also something like old food. I almost gagged. I propped open the door to get some air flowing and started scrubbing. When I finished the toilets and sinks, I grabbed the stepladder to wipe down the ceiling tiles like Patty wanted. There were probably 20 tiles in that bathroom. those standard white ones you see everywhere. I climbed up and started wiping them with a wet cloth. I was on maybe the 10th tile when I noticed one of them looked different, slightly crooked, like it had been moved recently. It was the one in the far corner above the last stall. I almost left it alone. I really almost just climbed down and finished my shift, but something made me reach up and push it to the side. The smell that came out almost knocked me off the ladder. I had to cover my nose with my shirt. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it up into the crawl space. That's when I saw them. Blankets. Like actual blankets and a pillow up there. And trash. So much trash. Food wrappers from our store, empty water bottles, napkins, all piled up in the corner. My hands started shaking. I knew I should climb down and call the police right then, but I kept looking. I saw a backpack, and next to it some notebooks. I don't know why I did this. It was so stupid, but I reached up and grabbed one of the notebooks. My heart was hammering in my chest. The notebook was one of those cheap spiral ones we sold at the register for like $2. I climbed down and opened it. My legs felt like jelly. The first page had dates. Lots of dates, going back almost a month. September 18th was the first entry. That was 3 weeks before I even noticed anything weird. The entries were about the truck stop, about customers, about Patty, about me. I'm not going to write exactly what it said, but it was detailed. Really detailed. It talked about what time I usually arrived for my shift, what I wore, how I always bought a coffee from the machine at 2 a.m., how I'd sit in the back room during my break and scroll through my phone. My stomach felt sick. I flipped through more pages. There were drawings, pencil sketches. They weren't good or anything, but I could tell what they were. They were pictures of me, in my car, at my apartment building, walking my dog, Murphy, at the park near my place. I felt cold all over. My apartment was 20 minutes away. The park where I walked Murphy was in a completely different part of town. One page had my license plate number written on it. Another page had a sketch of my apartment building with an arrow pointing to a third-floor window. My window. There was a note that said, "Best times," with a list underneath. Thursday nights were circled multiple times. The note next to it said, "Always alone Thursdays." Thursday was when my roommate visited her boyfriend in St. Louis. I was always alone Thursday nights. I dropped the notebook. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I pulled out my phone to call 911. But then I heard something, a scraping sound, coming from above the ceiling. Someone was up there, right fucking now. I ran out of the bathroom. I didn't even think about it. Just ran straight to the front counter and called the police. I was talking so fast, the dispatcher had to keep asking me to slow down. I told her someone was living in the ceiling above the bathroom, that they had notebooks about me, that they'd been following me home. She told me to stay on the line and get outside. I grabbed my keys and went out to my car in the parking lot. I sat there with the doors locked, watching the building. The police said they were 10 minutes away. Those were the longest 10 minutes of my entire life. I kept staring at the building, expecting someone to come running out, but nothing happened. Everything was quiet. When the cops got there were 3 cars. They went inside with flashlights. I waited in my car. After maybe 20 minutes, one of the officers came out and asked me to show them exactly where I found the stuff. We went back inside together. I showed them the bathroom, the ceiling tile, everything. 2 officers climbed up into the crawl space with flashlights. They were up there for a while. When they came down, their faces looked serious. One of them asked me to come to the back room with them. They showed me another ceiling tile. This one was in the back room where I took my breaks. There was a tiny hole drilled through it, maybe the size of a pencil. You wouldn't notice it unless you were looking for it. The officer shined his flashlight through it. It pointed directly down at the chair where I always sat. Someone had been watching me through that hole during my breaks. When I thought I was alone, they found more stuff in the crawl space, more notebooks, more drawings, a box cutter, some rope, Things I don't really want to think about too much. The officers asked me a million questions. They took the notebooks as evidence. They found an exterior vent on the back of the building that had been pried open. That's how he was getting in and out. They figured he'd been doing it for at least 3 weeks, maybe longer. One of the cops told me they found something else too, a small calendar tucked inside one of the notebooks. It had dates marked with red X's. The officer wouldn't tell me what the dates meant exactly, but his face looked worried when he said they were going to have a detective follow up with me. That detective called me 2 days later and asked if anything significant happened on those dates. I checked my phone calendar. They were all Thursdays. Every single one. The dates when I was home alone. They also found photographs. Actual printed photos. Not just drawings. Pictures of me pumping gas at different stations around town. Me going into the grocery store. Me sitting in my car in different parking lots. Some of them were taken weeks before he even started hiding in the truck stop. He'd been following me long before I had any idea. The police dusted everything for fingerprints. They spent hours processing that crawl space like it was a crime scene. Because I guess it was, in a way. They took samples of hair they found up there, hoping for DNA evidence. They interviewed every trucker who'd stopped at the station in the past month, showing them a composite sketch based on some partial footage they got from a camera at a gas station 3 miles down the road. Nobody recognized him. The detective told me something that made it even worse. They found receipts up there from other truck stops along Route 40, places in Effingham, Marshall, Casey, all towns within an hour's drive, which meant this guy probably wasn't just squatting at our location. He was moving between different places, staying hidden. The detective said they contacted police in those towns too, but nobody had reported anything similar. Either this guy was really careful, or I was the first person he'd focused on like this. They never found him. The guy was just gone. They checked cameras at nearby businesses, but the footage wasn't clear enough. They dusted for prints but didn't find any matches in the system. It's like he just disappeared. I quit the next day. Didn't even go back for my last paycheck. Patty had to mail it to me. I couldn't step foot in that building again. But here's the thing that still messes with me. About 2 weeks after everything happened, I was at the grocery store near my apartment. I came out with my bags and noticed a car parked at the far end of the lot. Dark blue sedan, kinda beat up. I didn't think much of it at first. Then I saw the same car 3 days later, parked down the street from the park where I walk Murphy, far enough away that you wouldn't notice it unless you were paying attention. I saw it again a week after that, in the parking lot of my apartment complex, way in the back corner near the dumpsters. I called the police every time. They'd send someone out, but by the time the cops arrived, the car would be gone. They couldn't do anything without a plate number, and I was never close enough to see it clearly. I moved in with my sister and Terry Oat after that, changed my phone number, deleted all my social media. I still work at a gas station, but it's different now. I never work alone anymore. Sometimes I think about those notebooks, about how detailed they were, how long he must have spent watching me, learning my routine. The police said the handwriting analysis showed he'd probably been planning something. They just didn't know what. I don't walk Murphy alone anymore. I don't go anywhere alone on Thursdays. I check every ceiling tile wherever I go, and I'm always looking for that dark blue sedan. Because the worst part, I don't think he stopped. I think he's still out there. Maybe watching someone else now. Maybe still watching me, just being more careful about it. I haven't seen the car in about 2 months, but I still check. Every parking lot, every street, every time I leave my sister's apartment. Always checking, always looking. My sister thinks I should talk to someone, like a therapist or whatever. Maybe she's right. I don't sleep well anymore. I wake up at random times during the night and check the windows. Make sure they're locked. Sometimes I have dreams about finding more holes in ceilings, more notebooks with my face in them. I know it sounds dramatic, but it's hard to explain what it feels like knowing someone spent that much time studying you, planning something, because once you know someone was watching you like that, You never really feel safe again.